So that is the box you get in the mail, or UPS, or actually it's FedEx, I think. So there's an antenna. I believe there are 3 or 4 different versions. This is sort of a basic version, rectangular. They have like a business or a high performance model, which I think is more square. It's just a larger surface area. That is a modem / router, power cord, 75 feet of cable. I think you can buy 100 or 150 feet as an accessory, and some very basic instructions. Actually, most of the instructions are on the app. So this is what I'm going to install. What I didn't know ahead of time is that they also have different mounting options, but you have to go to the Starlink shop, I think is what the name of it is, because this is just meant to sort of sit on the ground or some horizontal surface, but that's not going to work for me. We'll go outside and I'll show you where I intend to mount it, and I have a little bit of trimming to do with the tree to make sure I have a clear sky for it to look at. That is my existing internet service. It uses 4G cellular service, and it points to the mountain straight ahead where the antenna is. So it is as good of a location as you could ask for, line of sight, but it still doesn't provide a lot of speed. Maybe 2 or 3 megabytes upload, maybe 15 to 20 megabytes download per second. And it's rather pricey, and you pay, once you exceed the 100 gigabyte limit, you pay additional. So with Starlink, it'll probably end up being about the same per month. It should be faster speed and no overage charges. So I'm going to go into the house where my existing cable does, which is right there. I actually have room, so I'm going to go below it. So this one has two ends. Obviously this one is not standard. It's very unique to Starlink. This goes in the router, and this end goes on that rectangular antenna. So a 3/4 inch bit will work, which is what I have here. Let's see if this will work. Can't go all the way through, but I'll figure that out. So that does fit in there. So I just have to get a drill bit to go through all the way, and then I'll drill the same size hole from the inside. So you can see the existing cable and the hole that I just drilled. Actually took me quite a while. It might have been 20 minutes, maybe more. I sort of lost track of time. The other thing, you'll see me use pliers to sort of grab, I think it's a USB-C or something like that, or micro or mini or something. Anyhow, that was a mistake because I damaged the end. I was able to plug it into the satellite, but I think I was lucky. I sort of bent it back enough where it actually was able to slip in. But anyhow, that was a mistake, and I won't do that again. It's right there. Ah. A bit more work than I was... Oh, you know what? And after all that, I did it backwards, because this needs to go out, because that's the antenna. So when I tried to pull this out to start again, this sort of acts as a a sort of a one-way valve, so I'm gonna make it so I can hopefully fish this back out the opposite way, and maybe make it easier to fish it outside, which is the direction I should have been going. What fun, what fun. Can see out a lot easier than I could see in, which makes that a lot easier. It does help that it's right next to the window. So I'll get this in and get the cable out, and then we'll go outside and look at what we have to deal with. So there's where the cable comes out of the house. My plan is to mount it after I get the mounting bracket that I ordered from their shop up there, along here somewhere on the eave. But in order to have a clear view, I know I'm going to have to cut some of the branches off this tree, which is why that ladder's there. This is a box elder maple. It's sort of a junk tree. They're ugly, they grow fast, but they do provide shade, which is the only reason it's still there. But these branches here are fine. It sort of blocks the light from that window up there anyhow. So then what I'm going to do after I cut these branches, I'm going to bring the antenna out. I will put it out here just on the ground and let it do its thing to understand, you know, which way it's pointing. It should point that way, which is northeast. So once I get these couple branches down, it should have a clear view from the edge of the roof. So that's quite a bit more open, and hopefully with the extra height, and it points somewhat up in the air rather than across the horizon, then I'm hoping those branches there will be low enough or out of the way so it doesn't interfere. So let's clean this up a bit. I'll set the antenna out there, we'll plug it in and see what happens. So there it sets out sort of in the middle of the lawn, about 25 feet from the house. So it says there's some connection. I know the antenna moved already some. So if it ends up staying in that orientation, it is basically north-northeast. Thought it was going to be more true north. From what, anyhow, I got hooked onto Starlink because of a neighbor who got it. He had very bad DSL service and he raves about it, and he said it sort of points to the north, which it is. It's just a little bit east of north. So if it points that way instead of more to the west, then I will probably have to take down some of the taller branches when I go to put that up there on the roof. But right now is a clear view of the sky. So it's been connected for 10 or 15 minutes. I thought I'd run a speed test. I ran the one on the Starlink app, but that might be a bit biased. So this is the one that I normally run. That's probably twice, 3 times what I normally get for download. Upload appears about the same, maybe a little bit more, maybe I normally get 3 or 4. Anyhow, I have both networks connected so I can switch to the other one and give that a try too. So this is the speed test on my old one, which is 4G cellular. Download is about 10. So yeah, that's like 6 or 7 times better. Upload, actually, boy. Yeah. So upload is about the same, download is probably 6 or 7 times better. So my mounting bracket came today. It is what they call, I think, a close or a short bracket. They have one that sticks out, I think, about 10 inches or so, 10 or 12 inches. They call a long bracket. So to fit on my trim, I have a 1-inch spacer. I'll show you how that'll work here in a bit once we climb up the ladder. So it's going to go up there, not quite to the peak because I have cables holding the antenna up there, but just to the right of it, the top of the ladder. It came with traditional lag screws, which require pre-drilling, but I'm just going to use these GRKs because I have them. I have a 4-inch that goes through the block, and a 3-inch that'll go up there. Aluminum, and there it goes. should do it. I picked a very windy day, so I apologize if there's a lot of wind noise, but it's also a very warm day. So, and now I need to bring the antenna up here, remount it. Rather than trying to do two things at once at the top of the ladder, I fed the cable through that little opening there in the bracket. I'm going to plug it into the antenna down here. Goes like that. Just like that. And then bring it up and hopefully it just clips in. The wind doesn't blow me off. Now it'll have to reorient itself. I hope it can do that without hitting the roof. So it says the antenna has just powered on. Network performance should stabilize after 15 minutes. So it should start to move. There's the line of view that it should end up with. Hopefully it only needs to go on top of those branches and not through them. I think it should. It's pointed up at a pretty steep angle towards the sky. Well, that worked out well. It did not hit the roof, and it's more or less, I think, where it needs to be. So I'm going to head down the ladder and get the cable. It came with a bunch of cable connectors, cable straps, cable staples. I'll go get those and start doing that thing. They send this mount with a bunch of these cable clamps, which are really nice. They work well, I think, a quarter inch bit. Alright, now shorten the ladder and continue down. Oh, the antenna has not moved, and the cable is fastened to the side of the house. That's an exterior thermometer sensor. So this is the north-facing side of the house, so I didn't want the sun impact as much on the temperature. So that's where the old, well, the existing legacy, I'll call it, internet service went in. And this is the hole I struggled to get this through earlier. So it is in. I have brown latex caulk, because that's what I had. It works. I can dab that with the siding color after it dries and warms up. Probably put another coat on that to make it look a little bit better. So, and there's a drip loop. You'll always want to have some sort of a drip loop to make sure that rain doesn't sort of follow the cable inside the house. So that's it. Now we go inside for one more step. So the final piece to this project here for Starlink is I want to use my existing Wi-Fi, which is a mesh system, Eero. It's an Amazon product, I think. And I have 3 of those around the house. Also reaches out to my outdoor wood boiler. This particular model, which is a standard model, comes with a router and a modem. It's all together, and you cannot disconnect the two without another piece. So in the interim, until I got that extra piece, I was forced to use their Wi-Fi because that's the only way to get a signal out of Starlink. But you can buy this piece. I forget how much I paid. It's probably $40 or so. And this is the instructions that come with it. And like a lot of the stuff here, there are no words. This side is the higher performance model. It's square, and it does have a separate modem and router, but that's not me. This is me, which is more the rectangular unit which I have on the roof. You can see here I just have the single unit here, and to hook this up, this is the cable going to the receiver, the antenna, the satellite receiver. This goes into this box, and then this goes in to the unit here, and then this would be the cable that I plug in from my existing router. So let's get that wired up, and so I can use my regular Wi-Fi that I have everything connected to in the house that I use the internet for, except a couple computers that I switched over to this one. So there I have it, at least sort of temporarily. This comes from the outdoor antenna. This goes to the modem and the power unit, the brains of this whole thing. And then the white cord goes to my Wi-Fi router. So the other thing I need to do is go in and change the settings so that this will bypass the internal router. So the next thing I need to do is bypass the Starlink router so that it goes to my original router. A couple things there. It's still, I had to, when you disconnect it and reconnect that other adapter, then it's like you're powering it on for the first time. So it takes 5 hours to check all the satellites for obstructions. But I'm going to settings, advanced, bypass Starlink Wi-Fi router. Will completely disable the built-in Starlink router. Okay. Are you sure? Yes, I am. So after some fits and starts, I did end up getting the Starlink to connect with my existing Wi-Fi. So it now goes through here, and this thing goes to my existing Wi-Fi, and then there's still some connection with the brains of the Starlink thing. So now I have this and a bunch of cable down there to hide somewhere in the back. So what I've learned is every time you power down Starlink, it goes through a startup process. And one of those processes is viewing for obstructions, which takes 6 hours. I'm guessing that's for all the satellites to pass by in the various locations, but it still has an unobstructed view. But there is about a 15-minute interval where you may not have internet connection when you power down. So one thing I will probably do is get UPS, uninterruptible power supply, so that if I do have a momentary outage of maybe up to an hour or so, then it's not going to interrupt the internet service. But hadn't done that before. The other thing I'm guessing, I don't know what happened, but I had difficulty yesterday with it connecting. I think it did not like having a single data source feeding two Wi-Fis, because I was feeding two Wi-Fis at the when I tried to bypass the Starlink one. So I'm thinking I'm thinking I probably should have disconnected my existing Wi-Fi, my existing internet signal before I transferred the signal from the Starlink Wi-Fi to my old Wi-Fi. So I don't know exactly what I did to get it going again. I had to shut stuff down, start it up again, and it eventually seemed to start working. But it was difficult, but it's going now, and I'm happy so far. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it.